Happy Tuesday afternoon, everyone, and thank you for tuning into Blue Collar Sports. This is our 97th show ever you're listening to right now. 97. For those of you who aren't familiar with us, we are an all-sports national talk show. Cover pretty much everything, but majority of the main sports, but we got everything on here for you. So I'm your co-host, Seth Newville, joined here with co-host Trevor Brennan. If you're trying to reach us on social media, we got a variety of ways. We got a Twitter, at Blue Collar SR, the B, C, the S, and the R are all capitalized. And then, of course, an Instagram as well, which is at Blue Collar Sports, but it is blue_collar_sports. So that's a way you can get in touch with us. We appreciate you guys tuning in. If you're tuning us through Twitter, through the app, various ways we appreciate it today is we are live right now. It is 2 o'clock. We're every Tuesday, Thursday from 2 to 4 p.m. down here at Boise State University. It's a cold day out there in Boise. But it's a beautiful day in Boston where the Patriots are celebrating their parade of their snooze fest of a Super Bowl victory that took place on Sunday, and that's what we're going to cover starting right now.
Seth, I'm so excited to be in here today, coming off the big Super Bowl Sunday we had. It's going to be a great show, a 97th show today. I'm very excited to get to it, and you're right. Boston fans, New England fans, they're excited today. The Patriots are having their parade. Gronk's excited, and today's going to be a great show, so thank you very much for tuning in today.
Yeah, we got a great one today. Of course, we're going to cover the Super Bowl that took place Sunday. We'll spend pretty much the whole first hour on that. Then we'll move to the NBA a little bit in hour number 2. But to kick things off with the Super Bowl, again, last show will come on last Thursday, was all about the Super Bowl, all 2 hours, but today, the first hour we are going to recap it is the Patriots win this one 13-3, and what I think is one of the most boring Super Bowls of all time, but we're going to get to that in a second. But again, Patriots win. Tom Brady's 6th Super Bowl. Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, that is pretty remarkable. So hats off to them for getting it done once again.
Yeah, unfortunately, the NFL season is officially wrapped up, and let's have my last big money report for the year here. On the Super Bowl Sunday, we had the Patriots beat the Rams 13-3. Tom Brady went 21 for 35 with 262 yards and an interception in this game. Sony Michel led the way on the ground for the Patriots. 18 rush attempts, 94 yards, and a touchdown, the only touchdown in this game. And your MVP, Julian Edelman, had 10 receptions on 141 yards for the Patriots. For the losing team in the Rams, Jared Goff, 19 for 38, 229 yards and an interception in this game. Todd Gurley, 10 rushes only for 35 yards, and Brandon Cooks was their leading receiver for 8 receptions and 120 yards in this one.
Yeah, and let's talk first about the big storylines that we talked about going into this game. The big one for me going into it was the Rams defensive line versus the Patriots offensive line. But for me, the biggest story here was the Patriots defensive line versus the Rams offensive line. I did not expect them to get to Goff and really shut down the run game that has been struggling. I mean, C.J. Anderson's been playing well, but Gurley was, again, not really much of a factor here. 10 carries, 35 yards like you talked about. But that was, I think, the biggest takeaway was the Patriots defensive line and, of course, their secondary, which I'll get to here in a second.
Yeah, I think you're definitely right. We all thought it would be the Rams D-line against the Patriots offensive line. In a lot of ways it was. But in this one, the Patriots defensive line, they just took out the Rams offensive line in this one. And the Rams O-line was voted the night before the best offensive line in football from the NFL honors, and they were torched all night by that Patriots defense. I'm going to get to the Patriots. Their whole defensive scheme and everything they had going on was unbelievable, and it caused chaos for Jared Goff and that whole offense. They just never got comfortable. The Patriots defense saw everything. They knew what was coming because the Rams did not change anything offensively. They were in 11 personnel the whole game, like they've been in all season long. So the Patriots knew what they were getting, and they were able to get to Jared Goff and really cause a lot of chaos from him that we did not see a couple weeks before in the Saints game.
Yeah, they were there all day, and their secondary definitely held their ground, which I'll get to in a sec. But I want to talk about the game in general now because, we talked about on the show, we both kind of like old-school defensive-style football, which this game had that. And I've always said, this game's a perfect example. Defense wins championships, offense wins games. But I will say this is one of the more boring Super Bowls
I've
ever had to watch. And I never want to refer to a Super Bowl as boring because obviously it's a Super Bowl. As a sports radio guy and a guy that loves sports, I love the Super Bowl, and it's never boring. But there's such thing as good defenses that are fun to watch and good defenses that aren't fun to watch. I'm not saying I'm taking anything away from them. The Patriots, they did what we expected them to do. They stuck to the run game. They let their defense dominate. That's what we knew they were going to do coming into it. They're going to keep the ball, control the ball, and allow the Rams to make the mistakes. And that's what they did. Bill Belichick outcoached Sean McVay without a doubt in this game. That was a huge – it was obvious. Sean McVay even talked about it. He was simply outcoached. But in terms of the game, there was really no exciting plays here. Gilmore's pick at the end, Gronk's catch, you could put in there. And it made me go through. I went through, and from the first Super Bowl that I could clearly remember watching, and for me it was 2006 was the first one I could remember watching, the Seahawks-Steelers. It was the first Super Bowl that I really got into. And I power rank. I know we did this last year, but I did the power rankings. This one was actually 13th out of 14 on my list. Huh. The only one worse was the Denver Broncos victory over the Carolina Panthers in Super Bowl 50. And that one, I was super sick watching that, and it was a horrible game. So I was in a bad mood, and that still almost beat it. I was not impressed with the Super Bowl in terms of an entertainment standpoint, which is what I wanted because I don't like either of these teams. I wanted it to be entertaining, and it wasn't. But I will say the Patriots delivered perfectly exactly what they needed to do, and they don't care what anyone else thinks.
I don't want to hear from you. You're just like one of the other fringe fans that watch the Super Bowl because it's a national holiday. You're just watching for the commercials and the halftime show.
That's not why I watch the Super Bowl.
We're going to get to for the next segment. If you didn't enjoy this Super Bowl, you're not a true football fan, and here's why. We had two great schemes defensively from both teams here. Brian Flores for the Patriots, defensive coordinator, outstanding all night long. He's moving on to Miami. We'll get to that later. And Wade Phillips for the Rams, just exceptional job. If you only let 13 points up against the Patriots and Tom Brady, you're doing something pretty good, and you're going to think you're going to win a game. Unfortunately, that did not happen for the Rams. But Wade Phillips, hats off to you. Tip of the cap. That was a fantastic game plan all night. But let's start off with the Patriots. What did they do in this game that worked out for them? How did they win this football game? And it all started defensively, which we're going to start with right now. During the season, they led the whole entire league in man-to-man coverage all season long. But in this game, they played zone 80 to 90% of the snaps in this game. So they completely changed their defensive style. So the Rams, I bet, of course, they're going to prepare for man-to-man because they are the leading man-to-man team in the National Football League. But then they disguised it from man to zone, which the Rams were doing also in their plays. That's how they got the interception on Tom Brady. But the Rams were not prepared for that, and the Patriots were in those ways. So they just completely disguised their looks, playing a totally different type of defense that the Rams did not expect coming into this game. And then one key thing that I did see there, on their third down rush package, they only had one defensive lineman on the field. They were going outside linebackers out there. They were going fast, getting after Todd Gurley, Jared Goff, the whole offense. They were just blitzing the O-line and attacking Jared Goff and making him uncomfortable, and that's really what helped and worked out for them because the Rams cannot do anything on third down, could not stay on the field. They just kept getting off and had to punt it. We saw, I believe it was like 8 punts in a row. They had that one time. 9 total. Tony Romo was circling on the TV for you, which we'll get to him. He had a great day too.
He was the MVP.
But their defense for the Patriots was fantastic. That's what won this game here. Like you said, their D-line absolutely took out the offensive line for the Rams, which is possibly their best unit on the entire team. And for the Rams here on their defense, let's start with there. I thought they were lights out the whole night. They stopped all the running backs. They stopped the running game. Michelle had a nice day with 94 yards, but for the most part, there was no running game. Usually you see the running backs catch out of the backfield pretty well in the Patriots game, but they did not do that at all in this one. Chris Hogan, nowhere to be found in this game. Gronkowski had one pretty great catch, which we'll get to, but they let Julian Edelman win this game. If they're going to lose this game, it's because of Tom and Julian Edelman, and that's why they lost the game, because those two had a connection. They were able to find the weak spots in the Rams defense, and they excelled in that, and that's why they won the Super Bowl. But the defense was just fantastic for the Rams and the Patriots. That's why it was so low scoring.
You killed that, by the way. That was awesome. Great breakdown over there. And to start,
that was just with the defense. I got offense next.
And to start, I'm not one of those fridge Super Bowl fans. I obviously very much enjoy it, but this one was different for me, and I talked about it on Thursday in that I have no desire to watch any of these teams. I'm not a Patriots fan, and I don't like the Rams at all. so I just want to be entertained. And this game, watching 14 punts total isn't going to get the job done from an entertaining standpoint.
There was a point in this game we thought Johnny Hekker might be the MVP.
Yeah, we watched this game together. We were talking about that if the Rams win this game by a score of probably, if they had to win, it would have been like 6-3. Johnny Hekker should have been the MVP. He had a great night. Hats off to him. But in terms of the scheme you were talking about, and the scheme that Bill Belichick drew up, we were talking about it before the show started. They changed their entire scheme, like you said, with the man and the zone coverages, going to zone after they're really a man-based team. And then we talked about the other side, which I know you're going to get to in a second, on the opposite side. And we've seen it really all year. McVay, and they talked about it even in the NFC Championship game, but McVay hasn't changed up his strategy.
Yeah,
he's had
absolutely.
pretty much the same playbook throughout. And I mean, I don't necessarily blame them. It's worked. Their offense has really been dominant pretty much all season long. But when you get 2 weeks, you give Bill Belichick 2 weeks to prepare for you, like you do in the Super Bowl, a guy that's been there now 9 times, it's not going to work, and that was very evident from the start. I thought they were going to switch up a little bit, especially with all the reports that they're going to go back to giving Gurley all these touches, which, to be fair, they tried early. The first drive, he got I believe the first 2 carries of the game right off the bat, but it was so readable. And I think what really stood out to me in this game, and I'm going to get to who I think my MVP should be in a sec. This guy I think should be runner-up, but it was Dante Hightower. Mm-hmm. And Bill Belichick's faith, and Brian Flores, he's a linebacker coach and his defensive coordinator, their faith in Dante Hightower. They did a lot of edge blitzes on the outside, and Dante was really controlling everything in the middle of the field. He had 3 QB hits in this game. I believe I saw 4 tackles. He was everywhere on the field, commanding that defense. He's the one with the headset or with the mic in his helmet.
Right.
And I think watching him control, I think he's one of the most underrated players on this team. Has been for a while, and I've loved watching Bill Belichick's trust in him.
Yeah, being the leader on defense for the New England Patriots is a huge role to take, and you got to have some trust from Bill Belichick, of course, to fill that role in those shoes. So I think he had a phenomenal game, like you said, huge key in success in winning this game. But now let's move on to the other side of the ball, and this is why the Patriots won the Super Bowl. They changed everything, and the Rams changed nothing in this Super Bowl. This is what happened. The Rams, their offense displayed nothing new. There was no changes from this entire season. We all know they led the league in 11 personnel, 1 back, 1 tight end, all season long. They had one formation that just had hundreds of different routes and combinations of those. But the Patriots knew what they were getting because the Rams don't change anything. And Sean McVay's a great coach, but he didn't change anything going into the Super Bowl. Bill Belichick knew that, and they were able to be ready for anything. In this Rams offense, they really wanted to create the running game early, which you said, but just there was nothing there. Patriots were just too prepared, and that really, I think, frustrated Jared Goff because now it had to put it on his shoulders. And just for being such a young quarterback, it was too much of a task for him right now. Maybe later in his career he could be that type of quarterback, but for right now, not having a run game in Todd Gurley, it was too much of a task for him in this one. And seeing Edelman as a slot receiver just destroy and pick apart that Rams defense, I think Cooper Kupp is a huge loss for the Rams in this one. That's what Cooper would have been doing for the Rams against the Patriots here. And I think he brings a big trust for Jared Goff also. If Cooper Kupp is he's a very smart receiver. He was in the lineup playing in this game. I think Jared Goff would have been a lot more comfortable as well. And, of course, the offensive line was getting torched by that D-line of the Patriots all night long. So Jared Goff just not comfortable at all in this game. And the Patriots defense, they said it going into this game that we're going to make Jared Goff's life miserable, and they absolutely did. And that was just a disastrous offense performance from the Rams, and it just can't get too much worse than that. Jared Goff missed that throw. Could have been a touchdown, very late throw.
Back of the end zone.
Brandon Cooks.
He had a play by McCourty on that.
Absolutely great play. He had, of course, the interception, just zero safety. He just tossed it up there, but not enough zip on it, and it was just way too short there. So Jared Goff did have a rough day, unfortunately, but he'll bounce back, and we'll get to that. But let's go over to the Patriots. What did they do well in this game? Of course, Edelman, he showed the importance of a slot receiver. He was all over the field. Rams took away the best thing of the Patriots. That's their run game. That's their running backs catching out of the backfield. They took that away. But I know Tom Brady didn't have the best game, but it still showed so much from him.
He controlled it.
Controlling the whole game, not being chaotic like Jared Goff, knowing what he had to do, going to Julian Edelman, who he trusts a lot more than any player I think he's ever played with. So that really showed a lot to me. Tom Brady had a phenomenal game, I believe. I know he had a lot of mistakes, a lot of bad balls, but he showed more in this game than I think in many of his other Super Bowls. But I want to talk about a key drive that this is how they scored the game-winning, ended up being the game-winning touchdown in here. Josh McDaniels drew this up during halftime. Their game plan involved 21 personnel with 2 backs and the tight end, but obviously it wasn't working at all early on in the first half. Nothing was working for either team, so Josh McDaniels knew he had to change it up. During halftime, he had a thought in his head to completely change it up, go to 22 personnel, and just create its own plays. And he drew up these plays in his head during halftime. None of the players even knew. They did not practice this all the 2 weeks preparing for this Super Bowl, and they just went out there and had the best drive of the entire night here. They had 3 consecutive plays that were all the exact same plays. Everybody was lined up a little bit differently, but it was able to put Julian Edelman on a linebacker, which is a huge mismatch. No linebacker is going to be able to keep up with Julian Edelman off the release. And so they found Edelman. They found, I believe, Hogan on one of the outs. And then, of course, they had Gronk on the huge catch leading up to the game-winning rushing touchdown. But it set up Gronk for a free release off this line. And there was no match for Edelman and Gronk there at that last drive. But they had the same exact play set up 3 different ways in 22 personnel that they did not practice all week long. And the Rams were not prepared for that, and that's why the Patriots won the game.
And, of course, that drive was capped off by Sony Michel. And I got written down, I wanted to talk about Sony Michel because I remember at the beginning, especially right after the draft, the beginning of his career, we talked about a little bit, we've never seen Bill Belichick, definitely never seen him go after a running back in the first round of a draft.
Yeah.
And really pretty rare to see him go after an offensive player early in the draft, unless it's on the O-line. And I was very, very, really shocked when I saw Sony Michel go, and especially because it was already kind of a crowded backfield. They always have running back by committee. But I think what he brought to this team, and we talked about it last week on the show, about how this team's identity was based around the run this year. All year they were trying to find that consistent run game, and their offense changed. When they lost those 2 games to Tennessee and to Miami, those were the games Sony Michel were hurt those games during the regular season. He missed a significant amount of time for the injury. And for him to score the only touchdown as a rookie running back, I thought was pretty remarkable. And you know, a lot of people are talking about it's Tom Brady's 6th. Obviously, he deserved it. He controlled it, played an incredible game. Stats-wise, obviously, it doesn't jump out. He used 71 rating. But the way he controls the game and gets everyone comfortable. And, of course, Julian Edelman. And I'm not saying Julian Edelman doesn't deserve MVP, but this is what I want to talk about now. But 10 catches, 141 yards is incredible. But for me, in a Super Bowl game that's 13-3, the Rams, I believe, were the highest scoring offense in the NFL this season. To hold them to 3 points in the Super Bowl and have an offensive player get MVP, I think isn't right. I truly do believe, because I want to talk about him, we haven't talked about him, is Stephon Gilmore. I think he should have been the MVP. He had the game-winning interception. I believe it was down on the 4-3 yard line down at the end to save a touchdown. He also had 3 pass deflections, one of those coming in the end zone on I believe it was the play right before his pick. Okay. He broke up the play. Both were to Brandon Cooks. Of course, Devin McCourty made the huge play in the back of the end zone earlier in the game. But he had 3 pass deflections, 5 tackles, and an interception. I think him or Dante Hightower should have been MVP. I'm not saying Edelman didn't deserve it. Edelman was incredible. He's got an incredible story, and hats off to him. But I think when you hold a team to 3 points that has been the best offense all year long in the NFL, I think it's got to be a defensive player, and I really do think Stephon Gilmore was the best player in this game. Yeah,
I wouldn't have been upset if one of them got it, Gilmore or Hightower. They obviously deserved it too, but it was just the whole Patriot defensive unit. They played lights out. Their system, their scheme was incredible by Brian Flores, so hats off to the entire defense there. They could have got it for sure, but Julian Edelman, for me, I would have voted for him for MVP in this game. He was the only guy that Tom Brady connected with and trusted in this Super Bowl, and that was the reason they were able to just drive down the field. Like I said, they had that drive, that 3 consecutive plays, and they were just creating mismatches for Julian Edelman, and there was nobody on him. He was always alone in the middle of the field.
I don't think they double-teamed him until fourth quarter.
Not till late, and that's what happened with Gronk. Because they were double-teaming Edelman, Gronk was open for one-on-one, and that's why they were able to drive down there and get that touchdown there. So, that's what Wade Phillips, that defense, wanted. They wanted to stop everything and make one man beat them in this game, and that one man beat them, Julian Edelman. That's why he's MVP.
So hats off to both teams, but again, big congratulations to the New England Patriots on another Super Bowl. Boston's now won the last 2 major sports. It's the Celtics and the Bruins' turn now. We'll see how it is. We'll talk about the Celtics later on today's show. But we are going to stick with the Super Bowl as we head to the entertainment side coming up for you here in a second. We're going to look at the halftime show, talk a lot about that, a lot of the commercials, and, of course, all that went into the Super Bowl that wasn't just the game. So we got that coming up for you. Stay tuned.
We'll be right back.